The afternoon sun poured through the glass walls of Ouagadougou International Airport, casting a golden glow over the bustling terminal. Travelers hurried through check-in counters, their voices a symphony of excitement, exhaustion, and urgency. Families embraced, businessmen tapped impatiently at their phones, and porters wheeled towering stacks of luggage. Amid the chaos, Flight 227 to Accra was preparing to board, its first-class passengers lounging in a sleek, air-conditioned lounge overlooking the tarmac. The date was May 12, 2025, and the air hummed with the promise of something extraordinary. In a quiet corner of the lounge, a man sat alone, his presence unassuming yet magnetic. He wore a simple black caftan, its fabric clean but unadorned, and plain leather sandals that bore the faint scuffs of travel. His small canvas bag rested at his feet, unremarkable save for a subtle embroidered pattern of Burkina Faso's flag. His face was calm, his eyes deep and watchful, taking in the room without drawing attention. He held a first-class ticket to Accra, where he was to attend a discreet meeting with regional leaders. Few noticed him, though some glanced twice. A black man, alone, dressed modestly in a space reserved for the ostentatiously wealthy. He didn't fit their expectations of a first-class passenger, yet he sat with the quiet assurance of someone who belonged. The lounge buzzed with soft conversations and the clink of glasses. A French CEO in a tailored suit sipped espresso, scrolling through financial reports. A Ghanaian heiress in a silk head wrap laughed with her entourage, her jewelry glinting. The man in the caftan remained silent, his hands folded, his gaze drifting to the planes taxiing outside. He was no stranger to scrutiny, no stranger to being underestimated, but today he had chosen simplicity, not to hide, but to see the world as it truly was. When the boarding announcement crackled through the speakers, "First-class passengers for Flight 227, please proceed to Gate 4. He rose smoothly, slinging his bag over his shoulder. He joined the line, his movements unhurried, blending into the flow of passengers. At the gate, a flight attendant named Clara stood poised, her slim frame accentuated by a crisp navy uniform. Her golden hair was tied in a tight bun, her bright red lipstick a stark contrast to her pale skin. Her name tag gleamed, and her smile was practiced, reserved for those she deemed worthy. Clara greeted the man ahead of him, a white businessman in a designer suit with a warm, "Welcome aboard, sir," scanning his ticket with a flourish. Then her eyes fell on the man in the caftan. Her smile vanished, replaced by a tight-lipped frown. She raised an arm, blocking his path. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her tone clipped. "You must be lost. This lane is for first class." The man handed her his ticket without a word. Clara glanced at it, her eyes narrowing. Seat 2A, first class. "This must be a mistake," she muttered, almost to herself. She looked him up and down, his simple caftan, his lack of a watch or briefcase, his dark skin. "Sir, this flight is not for someone like you. You can't sit here." A murmur rippled through the line. A young woman behind him gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. A man in a business suit frowned, his phone half raised. The man in the caftan met Clara's gaze, his voice calm but firm. "Excuse me." Clara's voice grew louder, her words sharp. "I said this flight is not for someone of your background. You must have booked economy by mistake. Maybe someone used your card." Her tone dripped with condescension, as if explaining to a child. The crowd stirred. Phones emerged, their lenses capturing the scene. The young woman whispered to her companion, "Did she just say that?" The businessman's frown deepened, his thumb hovering over the record button. But Clara pressed on, waving a hand dismissively. "Let's not waste time, sir. We'll refund your money. Step aside. You're holding up the line." The man didn't move. His eyes, steady and kind, held Clara's. "I bought a first-class ticket," he said. "That's my seat." "Doe," Clara scoffed, her voice rising. "You can't even pronounce the name of this airline, and you want to sit in first class?" The crowd's restlessness grew. A junior flight attendant, a young man with glasses named Kwame, approached cautiously. "Is everything all right?" he asked. Clara leaned in, her voice a harsh whisper. "This guy's trying to sneak into first class with a fake ticket." Kwame took the ticket, scanned it with a handheld device, and watched as a green check mark appeared with a soft beep. "It's valid," he said quietly. Clara's face twisted with anger. "It doesn't matter. Look at him. Do you really think he belongs in seat 2A? By now, several passengers were filming, their phones trained on Clara's reddening face. The man stepped aside to let a mother with a baby pass, then turned back to Clara. "I'm not here for drama," he said. "I just want to take my seat." Kwame looked troubled. "Clara, maybe we should—" "You want to lose your job over this?" Clara snapped. The man sighed, his patience unshaken, and stepped forward. "I will take my seat now." Clara froze, her authority crumbling under the weight of his calm resolve. Finally, she stepped aside, but not without a parting shot. "Don't say I didn't warn you," she hissed. "We'll see how long you last in that seat." The man walked past her, his head high, and entered the first-class cabin. The air was cool, scented with leather and faint cologne. Seat 2A was by the window, its plush upholstery inviting. He stowed his bag in the overhead bin, sat down and pulled a small notebook and pen from his pocket. He began to write, his strokes deliberate, his expression serene. Clara entered the cabin, her eyes lingering on him before she turned to serve other passengers, pointedly ignoring him. The first-class cabin was a world apart from the chaos of the economy section. Passengers reclined in wide seats, sipping champagne and flipping through magazines. Across from seat 2A, François Delacour, a French CEO with a silver tie and a stern demeanor, adjusted his cufflinks and glanced at the man in the caftan. He noted the simplicity of his attire, but said nothing, his curiosity piqued by the quiet strength in the man's posture. A soft chime sounded. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing for takeoff. Please fasten your seatbelts." The man closed his notebook, buckled his belt, and gazed out the window as the plane's engines roared to life. The aircraft surged down the runway, lifting into the sky, leaving Ouagadougou's red earth behind. High above the clouds, the world below faded, but inside the cabin, a storm was brewing, one that would reveal the true weight of dignity and prejudice. Clara moved through the cabin, offering drinks and snacks with a practiced smile. For everyone but the man in 2A, her charm was effortless. When she reached seat 2B, where an elderly French woman with pearl earrings sat, she nodded warmly. "Green tea, ma'am?" The woman smiled. "Yes, please." Clara turned to the man in 2A, her voice flat. "What would you like to drink?" "Just water, please," he replied gently. She rolled her eyes. "We have sparkling and still. Pick one." "Still water is fine," he said. She returned with a plastic bottle, dropping it on his tray table without a napkin or a word. It wobbled, nearly falling, but he caught it, twisted the cap, and took a sip, his calm unshaken. François, watching from across the aisle, frowned. The man's restraint, his quiet dignity, stood in stark contrast to Clara's hostility. When Clara distributed hot towels, she skipped seat 2A entirely. The woman in 2B whispered to her neighbor, "Why is she ignoring him?" "He's done nothing wrong." A man in 3C murmured to his wife, "She thinks he doesn't belong here." The cabin hummed with unease. Passengers exchanging glances, some filming discreetly. In the galley, Kwame approached Clara, his voice low. "You need to stop treating that man like he's invisible. People are noticing. They're filming." "So?" Clara snapped. "Let them film. That seat doesn't belong to people like him." "He bought it," Kwame said. "He has every right." Clara's eyes flashed. "He knows he doesn't belong here. I know it. They want to act like kings and sit where they don't belong. Let them face the pressure." A sudden jolt shook the plane, light turbulence rattling the cabin. Clara steadied herself and returned to check seat belts. At seat 2A, she paused, a smirk playing on her lips. "You better buckle up tight," she said. "Wouldn't want you flying out of your seat." "Thank you for the reminder," the man replied, his voice even. Her smirk faltered, and she moved on. As the turbulence passed, lunch was served, trays of grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, and warm bread. Clara dropped a tray before the man, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Here, hope this meets your standards." "Thank you," he said, nodding politely. François had seen enough. He leaned toward Clara, his voice low but firm. "Excuse me, why are you treating that man with such disrespect?" Clara's face reddened. Sir, please mind your business. I am, Francois replied. I paid for peace, not to watch you insult a paying passenger. A passenger in the back clapped once, others nodding in agreement. Clara stormed to the galley, muttering, "How dare they defend him? Who does he think he is?" In seat 2A, the man closed his eyes, breathing deeply. He reached into his pocket, touching a small folded cloth, the emblem of Burkina Faso. It grounded him, a reminder of who he was and why he endured. The intercom chimed. "Cabin crew, prepare for arrival. 30 minutes to landing." Passengers straightened, trays were cleared, and tension lingered. Clara returned to first class, arms folded, staring at seat 2A. "I hope next time you choose the right cabin," she said coldly. "You're lucky we didn't throw you out before takeoff." The man looked up, his voice steady. "Sometimes the seat we choose is not just about money. It's about what we represent. I will continue to choose this seat, not for comfort, but for what must change." His words hung in the air, their weight settling over Clara. She didn't fully grasp them, but they made her feel small. As the plane descended, the clouds parted, revealing Accra's twinkling lights. The man in 2A stood, his bag in hand, waiting patiently to exit. No one, not Clara, not Francois, not the filming passengers, knew that when he stepped off the plane, he would transform from a quiet traveler into a symbol of power and humility. The plane touched down with a gentle thud, the cabin lights flickering on. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Accra. Please remain seated until the aircraft comes to a complete stop." Passengers clapped lightly, some stretching, others gathering their belongings. But in first class, all eyes were on seat 2A. The man had endured insults, glares, and neglect, yet he remained a pillar of calm, unshaken by Clara's venom. As passengers unbuckled their belts, Clara approached him one last time, her voice low and venomous. "I wish you'd never boarded this flight," she said. Leaning closer, she whispered, "You smell like you haven't bathed in a month. Sitting in first class doesn't make you clean. It just makes this cabin stink." He blinked once, his eyes meeting hers with quiet strength. The woman in 2B, overhearing, stood. "That's enough," she said firmly. "You've gone too far." Clara spun on her. "Stay out of this." "No, I won't," the woman replied. "You're out of control." Francois rose, his voice cutting through the tension. "Clara, you've embarrassed yourself, this airline, and all of us. This man has done nothing wrong. He's shown more dignity than you could ever understand. I don't know who he is, but he's a man of great worth." Clara's face burned with anger and shame. "I did what was right. We have standards here." "No," Francois said sharply. "You have prejudice." The cabin door opened, a warm breeze sweeping in. Outside, a black limousine waited on the tarmac, flanked by 5 soldiers in crisp uniforms. A red carpet stretched from the plane steps, an honor reserved for dignitaries. Passengers pressed against the windows, murmuring. "Is there a celebrity on board?" one asked. "Maybe royalty," another guessed. Clara frowned. "We didn't get a VIP alert." Kwame approached, his face pale, holding out his phone. "Clara, you need to see this." She snatched it, her eyes widening at the screen. A photo of the man in 2A, now in a military uniform, addressing thousands. Burkina Faso's flag behind him. The caption read, "President Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso." Clara's hand trembled, the phone slipping. "No, this can't be," she whispered. She looked up, searching for him. He was at the exit, lifting his bag. "Wait," she called, her voice breaking. "Sir, I didn't know. I didn't mean to." Traoré turned, his eyes free of malice. "Would it have made a difference if you had known?" he asked gently. Clara opened her mouth, but no words came. "Respect is not a gift for the powerful," Traoré said. "It is a duty to every human being." He turned and stepped off the plane. The sun blazed outside, the soldiers saluting sharply. One opened the limousine door, but Traoré paused, looking back at the plane. Passengers watched through the windows, some tearful, others shaking their heads in shame. Francois stepped out, approaching him. "Mr. President," he said humbly, "please forgive us. Your humility is admirable." Traore smiled faintly. Sometimes we must walk low to see how deep people's hearts are. They shook hands. Inside, Clara sank into an empty seat, her face pale, her hands shaking. Kwame stood beside her. "You didn't just insult the president," he said softly. "You insulted everyone who looks like him." The captain emerged from the cockpit. "Prepare a written report," he told Clara, "and expect consequences." Outside, cameras flashed as Traore entered the limousine, not with pride, but with purpose. The news spread like wildfire. Passenger videos went viral, capturing Clara's outbursts, Traore's calm, and Francois's defense. Hashtags like Washer, Ibrahim Traoré, and Dignity in flight trended globally, the story igniting debates on racism, humility, and respect. At Accra's airport, staff whispered in awe, "President Traoré was on our flight, and she insulted him." In a small office, Clara faced the airline manager, her uniform feeling like a weight. "Do you realize what you've done?" he snapped. "You said, 'This flight is not for the person of your color.' You've shamed us all." "I didn't know," Clara whispered, tears streaming. "That's not the point," he said. "You've done this before. We have complaints on record." Clara froze, the truth sinking in. Outside, Traoré met the airport director, who stammered apologies. "Mr. President, if we had known—" "That's the problem," Traoré said. "You only care when you know. That woman didn't just insult me. She insulted millions. African, poor, unseen. She showed how deep prejudice runs." A reporter approached. "Will you press charges?" "No," Traoré said. "The world has seen what happened. Let that be enough." That evening, at a press conference in Accra, Traoré addressed the world, now in his military jacket, Burkina Faso's flag pinned to his chest. "This morning, I boarded a plane as a regular man," he said. "I wore no title, carried no entourage. What I received was hate, disrespect, and shame. Not for me, but for those who think power wears a suit, that skin color decides worth." The crowd was silent, hanging on his words. "No human is above another," he continued. "You don't need to be a president to deserve respect. You only need to be a person." He paused, his gaze piercing the cameras. "I forgive her, not because I'm weak, but because the lesson is delivered. She must choose to grow or remain small." He ended with a proverb, its roots in Burkina Faso's oral traditions. "If your power makes others feel small, it is not power, it is weakness." The audience stood, applause thundering. The story exploded globally. News channels replayed Traoré's speech. Schools taught it as a lesson, and social media buzzed with his proverb, printed on shirts and posters. A Ghanaian vlogger, Kofi Mensah, produced a YouTube video titled, "Flight Attendant Disrespects African President, Regrets It Instantly." With dramatic reenactments, passenger interviews, and Traoré's speech, it amassed millions of views. At the end, Kofi faced the camera. "If this story inspired you, hit the subscribe button, like, and share with your friends. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story of dignity from Africa. Let's spread President Traoré's lesson." The video's thumbnail, Traoré stepping off the plane, soldiers saluting, became iconic. Hashtags like Gak's Dignity in Flight and Ibrahim Traoré drove its reach, with comments praising Traoré's humility and condemning Clara's prejudice. "This is why Africa rises," one wrote. "A president who walks like us," said another. Clara, suspended without pay, retreated to her apartment in Paris. Her phone buzzed with messages, anger from strangers, disappointment from friends, and a stinging note from her mother. "I raised you better." Watching Traoré's speech, his forgiveness broke her. She wrote a letter. "Dear President Traoré, I am sorry not because you are a president, but because you are a human I failed to respect. Your strength and forgiveness have changed me. I pray I can prove it." Traoré read her letter in his palace office, folding it gently. His assistant entered, carrying files. "Sir, we've received thousands of letters, support, apologies, even children's drawings. The people are touched." "I didn't plan this," Traoré said. "I wanted peace that day." "Your silence spoke louder than speeches," the assistant replied. Traoré nodded. "It's not enough to forgive. We must educate." He launched the Dignity Project, a national campaign teaching respect in schools, training service workers, and promoting kindness. His proverb, "If your power makes others feel small, it is not power, it is weakness," became a global mantra. Clara, meanwhile, volunteered at a refugee center in Paris, serving meals and listening to stories. One day she met a Burkina girl, Amina, who shared her dreams of becoming a pilot. "People say I can't," Amina said. Clara knelt beside her. "They're wrong. You are enough." Her work became her redemption, each act a step toward change. Years later, at a leadership summit in Addis Ababa, Traore spoke to a packed hall. "I was called dirty, told I didn't belong, not as a president, but as a man with dark skin. I stayed silent, not because I couldn't speak, but because I wanted to listen, to the pain of others, to the voice that says everyone deserves respect." His proverb echoed behind him, projected on a screen. "If your power makes others feel small, it is not power, it is weakness." The audience rose, their applause a testament to a lesson that transcended borders, a lesson born in Seat 2A. True power lies not in titles or wealth, but in the dignity you grant others. Silence can speak louder than hate, and forgiveness can rebuild what prejudice breaks.